Hi, my name's Emma.
My name's Rob.
And welcome to this episode of Hope and the City podcast. Today we're delighted to welcome Abby and Amy, who come and talk to us about what it's like to be a young woman in the city today.
Yeah, so much pressure on young women, as we know, women of all ages. And these are two people we know will inspire you. Despite their young age, they've really stood firm for done what many people would love to know they can do, but there's so much pressure to give in and to capitulate, but they haven't, and they've been different, and it really inspired me. As a dad, it inspired me bringing up a young girl in today's culture. We hope you enjoyed the episode.
Hi, my name's Emma.
My name's Rob.
And we want to welcome you to this episode of Hope and the City. And we've got some special guests with us again this time, and we'd love to introduce them. Rob.
No, I'm not the special guest. I'm here every week. So we've got Abby and Amy with us. Abby is Emma's daughter. Amy, this is the first time I've met you. Nice to meet you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves, starting with you, Amy?
I'm Amy. I have been going to church my whole life. I currently am doing an internship at our church doing youth and media, which is really fun. I do work on the side, so I work at M&S as a visual merchandiser.
Visual merchandiser? Tell me about that. Come on.
So I get to do all the mannequins, all the fun stuff. So basically everything you see, that's partly me. Yeah, so I do the windows, the fun stuff. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
That's really exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, I did a
really
paper round. I mean, that's a great job.
Yeah.
I think I did supermarkets, but perhaps I missed my opportunities. Was it visual
Merchandising.
I'll
I
think
worked in a
about
shoe
it.
shop.
She often refers to it as VM.
Yeah,
Just
VM
if
for
she
sure.
refers
VM.
to
Yeah.
VM.
Yeah, I'm a
And then I'm
VM.
like, Amy, you need to explain to some people.
Yeah, that's a professional term for
Yeah.
it.
Wow. So did you go to school, college? Is that in Plymouth?
Yeah, I went to Plymouth Stock School with Abby over here.
Yeah.
And grew up in Plymouth my whole life.
Yeah.
But
And-
now doesn't live in Plymouth.
No, I don't.
Anymore.
I now live in the good side. I live in Cornwall.
Wow, you've gone over the river. Cool, man.
Yeah.
So £2.60 to come and visit us today.
Oh.
Joke's on you.
You've got to pay to get out.
Yeah.
Oh, so Abby, I obviously know a lot about you, being as you're
I
my
hope so.
daughter. But maybe you could tell Rob and people listening a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm 19 years old. I am from Plymouth, born and bred, still live in Plymouth. And I'm also doing the internship at our church, and I'm doing the media side and the admin side. So just organising events, doing the social media, bits like that. But I also work part-time at the Bridge at Mountbatten restaurant.
Yeah.
So that's
Excellent.
about
So
me.
you girls are on a gap year?
Yeah,
so
we
you
just
decided-
finished our A-levels.
Yeah.
So
Decided to take some time out, kind of decide what you
Needed.
wanted to do career-wise.
Yeah, I mean, mine changes every week. But
So, go on, give us some of the ideas. What are some things that's gone through your mind?
it's always between two, actually. It's always fashion design,
Yes.
which I have got into uni for,
Wow.
or to be a youth leader, which I am now applying to do because I think that's what God wants me to do, which is cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because I guess we think you're young. I mean, you're young women, but then there's youth. There's always a new generation coming
yeah.
through, aren't there?
Yeah.
I guess we're getting straight into it here, but do you see a difference between the challenges that you faced 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and even the younger ones coming through? Because I guess from me and Emma, we're old fuddy-duddies now, but we see the world changing at a heck of a rate. I wonder if you notice it, even from not being a youth now yourself.
Yeah, you can really see like the difference in what they've grown up because they haven't known anything other than technology, whereas we still had a bit of our childhood without.
Yeah, we were on like
phones in
the
the same
edge.
way,
I
yeah.
feel like we still played down the street, but we also had an iPad at home. But we
I
weren't
didn't.
fully on. Well, like, you know what I mean. We weren't fully. Some kids nowadays just fully
Yeah.
on screens, but we still have the little bit of not of that, I think.
Yeah, and I also do the kids ministry on a Friday, which is for community based at our church. And even then, it's year 1 to year 4, and you see some of them bringing phones. I wasn't even allowed near a phone.
So that's 5 to 9 year olds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's very different. I mean, they didn't
That
have
is-
phones. I mean, they had phones. Alexander Bell had, had mobile phones, I think, when I was
Yeah.
18.
Well, I can remember Tom. So Tom's coming up 26 now. And when he was born, I had my first mobile phone, but that was like a brick. And the only game I had on it was Snake.
Snake, what a game.
But that was it. And I can remember having this, and that was a few years after they came out, but it was still quite early days. It was quite formative compared to how it is now. Whereas now everything is in your phone, isn't it?
And your phone tells you everything. Because we have this conversation quite a lot. I still do the youth. I don't do it for the internship, but I help lead it on a Sunday. And a lot of the topics of conversation at the minute are about AI. And the influence that has on this world, and we actually talk about it in our staff meeting today as well. It is crazy. Like there's so much positive, but to me, I find it so negative. But
really,
it's just the difference, I guess. Like,
what are some of the threats that you see, Abby?
Like, so we actually didn't have it. We've just got out of it when we did our A levels. I mean, it might have been a thing, but no one really knew about it as much.
No one knew.
You could use
people
it.
are using it for their essays now, their work, we could search up how to, I don't know, like you could search up questions to ask at a podcast and it would tell you a good list. Yeah. And I just
we already have. That's why these questions have been so sharp.
You're here.
That's like you're taking away people that are actually putting in the work to be creative. That's not getting recognised because people may just assume AI, but they've put that hard work in and stuff.
Right.
So I think it can really take away from creativity. There are obviously benefits for, I don't know, maybe more wider important things that this world needs it for, like research.
Good, like sometimes, not all the time, but if I'm doing like a kids talk and I don't have an idea to do as a visual demonstration, if I'm completely lost, it's a great like tactic to just ask for a couple suggestions, but I wouldn't do a whole talk on AI, obviously.
But basically AI in that context is just scouring the internet for you and distilling it all down and presenting it to you.
So I only got introduced to AI this year. So I'm at Regents at the moment, which is where you're applying for, isn't it, Amy?
Yeah, you're studying, aren't you?
Yeah, so just coming to the end of my first year of doing theology, applied theology. And they do, and a lot of uni students will know this, but there's Turnitin. So when you submit your paper, it goes through Turnitin and it scans it to see how much of a correlation it has to AI. Apparently there's certain AI triggers. And if you're over a certain percentage, you get called forward and interviewed. But they do equally encourage you. So say I've got a heavy reading text and I just can't fathom what it's trying to get at. I could put it into AI, get a basic understanding in my head, and then go to the book, and I know what direction the book is taking me in. So it's almost
like a little summary or a big picture.
So
it can be useful for that kind of thing.
Research, but not for. I think
Can't
it's
replace
good for
human
research, but not the
creativity.
actual task at hand. Do you know what I mean? Good to help you with it, but sometimes people could just be doing anything you wouldn't know.
Yeah, we were talking about it in our staff meeting. It does take away the emotions from anything. If you were to say, do a whole sermon on this. Not that I write sermons, but if you were to
just write your talk or anything, creating something.
Yeah, and you can't get the same answers, and I don't think you can get the same
feedback.
Relational.
It's the human touch, isn't it?
Even if you're saying that, but it's created by AI, where's the emotion? That person hasn't put in that hard work and might not feel as passionate about his topic as the words are saying.
So we've gone straight into technology then. So that's really, we're saying is that's a big mark then. That's the big thing that's changed. And you're noticing the rate of change, even from being, you're 19, Abby. Amy, I guess you're
18.
You're 18, and you're helping serve people in your community 5 to 14 years old, I guess, in different groups.
Yeah, I'm doing up to 18.
Up to 18, and already you're seeing the changes. Wow, that's incredible.
I guess it's from 16 and below, because obviously the people that are just below us, we've just come out of that. They're obviously in the same boat, but the people that are 16 and below, so even 2 years, that 2 year difference has made a lot of difference.
Tell the difference
just from being born 2 years later.
I guess it's not just the AI as well. Social media in general has just changed such a lot. So my first introduction to social media was Friends Reunited. That was when we first got our PC. So it was back before, you're even looking at me blank. Am I that old?
My brain's going and I remember it now.
Yeah, so it was a bit like Facebook. And the idea was you could find people from school, that you'd join up with. And it was similar, but you didn't have the feed like you have on Facebook.
Chat group?
So
it's
you
a profile that you saw, and you recognised people, gave you the opportunity to get in touch.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the moment.
it wasn't quite as involved as and detailed as Facebook is. But I mean, Facebook for your generation is kind of on the out now, is it?
Yeah.
Or you guys don't really use that? That's something more
It's
my
more
age.
to keep up
probably.
with people that are older.
Yeah, I only
Yeah.
use it for Facebook Marketplace.
I was just about to say, how can you buy anything if you haven't got Facebook?
Yeah, it was just
Marketplace is
new
gold.
cars. Was that off Facebook
Yeah, I bought my car
Marketplace?
on Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, it's used for that, but I wouldn't go and just scroll through it.
No.
It's not
What social
platform.
medias do you girls like look at to stay in touch with friends and things like that, and just to look at and what kind of things, what channels do you go to watch?
I'd
What
say
areas?
like to actually have like conversations with
Communicate,
friends, Snapchat probably, but to look at people's lives, Instagram, and then just to scroll TikTok.
To waste your life away,
Yeah.
TikTok.
So do you recognise it as a waste of life?
Oh,
You've
yeah.
used that phrase.
Amy's actually done it really committedly and has sometimes not
Yeah.
banned yourself, but got rid of it.
Like a social
Yeah.
media break.
Yeah.
Well, just from TikTok, 'cause that's what I find I spend most of my time on. But I did it for like 4 months, and then we got the source TikTok. So, I kind
So
of
yeah,
barely
now
use
we've
TikTok,
run it
so,
for.
yeah.
So you
our
use it
youth
for work
group.
now.
Yeah.
It's difficult. Tell us about those 4 months being off the doom
Yeah.
scrolling.
I mean, I feel like then you kind of replace it with Instagram scrolling.
That's amazing.
Oh, we appreciate your honesty, Amy.
But you do replace it with a bit of other stuff. Like it is, I do feel like it feels a bit more of a release from it. But yeah, I feel like you can quite quickly get bored, and then you're like, oh, I'll just go on Instagram now instead. But I still think for Instagram, I only follow certain people, and most of those people will be the only people that come up. So it's more of a positive, whereas TikTok can just come up with anyone, and then you scroll, you notice you're scrolling
I think
for
TikTok's
longer.
a lot more dangerous.
Yeah.
I'd
Go on,
say.
Abby.
I think TikTok, I mean, I've luckily never had any issues, but I know a lot of people can, like, people in the public eye can get a lot more hated on TikTok, and it's kind of known as the, I don't know what, like, the platform where, like, people get hate. I think, I mean,
Right.
that's what I've heard from, like, I, like, watched a lot of YouTube podcasts of people in the public eye, because I just think their life must be so crazy. And a lot of them have said where you get the hate, it's not on YouTube or Instagram, it's on TikTok. I don't know why that is, but I also think, yeah, some of the videos that come up, you don't want to see that, and it's coming up on your thing. There is a button to press, I'm not interested, so you don't get it again. But on Instagram, you're following what you want to see. On TikTok, the For You page, it could be anything. So it could be something I do not want to see. It might come up and I'll be like, what? So I press not interested. Whereas Instagram, I'm actively choosing who I want to see on my feed.
Yeah.
That's the word, feed.
But the problem is, once you've seen it, you've seen it.
Yeah.
Even if you choose not to see it, if you've seen something either explicit or gory or violent or whatever, that image is imprinted in your mind, isn't it? And it's how do you deal with that? Like when that happens, you know?
And coming back to your Instagram example of I can follow this and I can follow that, what are the things going through your mind that says that isn't helpful for me? And that is, what are you trying to get rid of? What have you recognised is not helpful for you to see?
Yeah, I feel like I don't really follow that many celebrities just in the public. Like, I feel like a lot of people follow the Kardashians, that kind of people.
Swifties, if you're a bit older.
Yeah.
You're not a Swiftie?
I don't know what. Oh, Taylor Swift.
Oh my goodness, yes! I feel so young. Yes, come on.
Yeah.
Even I know what a Swiftie is. This is brilliant.
I feel like musicians, I don't know if this is just me, but I would more follow them because their music, but I wouldn't follow, like Amy was saying, a Kardashian, because that's all about their appearance.
Yeah.
You mean it's like they're more like
Ooh.
influencers, I
A
guess.
musician is just their talent.
Their talent.
Which
Just-
obviously
okay.
I mean,
Part of it is their performance, bodily
Yeah.
performance, but it's less just
I wouldn't-
appearance stuff.
Yeah, so I feel like for the musicians we probably feel follow are probably just like I don't know how to explain it, like fun ones.
Yeah.
Safe.
The safe
Yeah,
ones.
the safe
yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
They don't have
Yeah.
really, well, I don't
No.
think too much bad language or
Yeah.
bad references.
Okay, well let's just
The
go on a little.
non-Christian ones,
Let's just
anyway.
go a bit deeper into this then. So, I mean, looking at other women for their appearance is not a new thing.
No.
I mean, glossy magazines have been around for a long time, haven't they?
They were even around when I was younger.
Did you recognise them as unhelpful?
I don't think there was the pressure as there is now. So like when I was So like I'm turning 50 this year. So when I was say 16 to 20, I can remember it being more magazines really. And you had the whole Kate Moss thing, and who was
The
other-
models.
Yeah, who was the other one?
I don't know.
There was another very famous one as
Naomi
well.
Campbell.
Yes, that's who I'm thinking of.
In the 90s, this is,
And
yeah.
they were very tall and very, very slender.
Yeah,
But society knew that, and they
Yeah.
almost disapproved of their slimness.
right.
Do you
Oh,
see what I
really?
mean? So it was much more that way. It was much more like
It's the opposite.
Or-
They were called
almost considered-
supermodels, but it was a particular look. You had to be over 6 foot and thin as a
nobody
rake.
in the everyday was expected to look like
Yeah.
that. Nobody was
Okay.
expected to follow that kind of trend. And I remember always seeing like very slim models and made up, but it didn't seem so high pressured.
Right.
If I'm honest, it wasn't as high pressured as I see it like now. You know, there was obviously the trends of clothes and things like that, but that's since time began. There's
Yeah,
been
but
trends of clothes.
there was a bit in between, wasn't there?
Mm-hmm.
So there was the catwalk model and the glamour model,
Mm-hmm.
but then there was the celebrity stuff when Heat mag. I remember my sister being younger, and it was Heat magazine and things like that, which
Yeah.
was a bit in the middle, which was celebrities, girlfriends and wives of celebrities.
Do you think
it
like
was
the whole Big Brother thing? That
it
kind
was
of
around
era?
that time. Lots of
Fly on the
paparazzi
wall,
taking
yeah.
photo of people on their holidays and things, and it became very, very showy.
Is this still magazines?
And this is still magazines,
I
and
get-
I'm just thinking
yeah.
that's
you
know
can
that
put that away.
you
As a
can, but it's
phone, you
also
pull it out.
you only get new content once a month.
Yeah.
And you
So what
choose
is it
to
like
buy
for
it.
you guys?
I guess a phone, you pull it out, and if you're
Yeah.
following that person, it's there. Do you know what I mean?
So that's the stuff
So
coming back to
guess that's
conversation
why
that
there's-
you're putting out is
Yeah.
people who are just too showy.
And I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of people now that recognise that it's wrong. And like a lot of people, there's quite a few people that I follow that are promoting body positivity, that kind of thing, and
Tell us about that.
saying-
What's body positivity?
saying it's fine not to be a size 6. And
It sounds fine to be a size 6 as it is to be a size
Yeah.
20. Do you
Right,
know what I mean?
okay.
and
matter.
yeah, and I feel like so many people are so like they're just open to not being negative all the time, and a lot of people, like you were saying about hate comments, a lot of people are like, this isn't right. So I think the thing with TikTok is I feel like people think it's very separate. So you have Instagram showing everything about you, and I think if people see a comment of that, they'll trace it back to you, whereas I feel like TikTok feels a bit more like separate. And
You can make accounts and they
Yeah.
can be so hidden. So you,
Yeah.
if you wanted to, you could comment whatever you want and no one would know that's you. Whereas on Instagram, I feel like it's less like that.
A bit more
It's-
accountable
Yeah.
in that way.
So
And did you
that's
say with
nice.
Instagram quite often? No, it was Snapchat, wasn't it? Instagram, do you tend to know the people that you're following? Is
Oh,
it a
no,
little bit more
TikTok-
selected?
Yeah, Instagram and Snapchat, those are
Yeah.
your friends or who you choose to follow.
Yeah.
So you might not know them, but they're a celebrity that you've chosen to
Yeah.
follow. Whereas TikTok, there's like a following feed and then a For You feed. And a For You feed could be anything in the world.
So that's like when you're on YouTube and it's got all the little run
Yeah.
videos down the side, and you click, 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 and before you know it,
But
you're watching something that you
Yeah.
Yeah.
wouldn't have chosen to watch.
But YouTube a lot of the time does actually base it on what you actually click to watch, whereas TikTok, it has a bit of
A
both.
bit,
So it
yeah.
always has what you
Right.
never click to watch. I don't know. It's just, yeah. I think, yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
How
it's
much
just
has your friendship to one another helped navigate this?
Oh,
Because,
a lot.
a
Go on.
lot.
Yeah.
give some examples. What's that look like?
So we have known each other since we were literally born,
Yeah.
and we didn't go to the same primary school, and then we got into secondary school, and we had
Yeah.
each other. And I think even the first few years, we probably didn't speak as much as we did by the end. But just knowing Amy was there, because
So
I used to feel
helpful,
so
yeah.
alone,
Yeah,
Oh.
and I think
like being a Christian in
yeah,
a school.
being a Christian, but like I feel like a couple of people would say they are, but they're like they don't
Yeah,
show that. Whereas
be
at
like,
Abby,
"Are
I'd be
you?"
like, oh, she's my friend, and I walk past.
Well, like actually following Jesus.
Yeah,
I'm
like,
actually
they'd say
not
it
just a
and you'd be
cultural
like,
Christian, but I'm
"Oh,
actually trying to follow
yeah.
Jesus. I'm actually trying to be different. But you've helped each other because I guess, as we will all acknowledge, you can't just remove yourself from the world. You don't just want to be these sort of weirdos. You want to be among it. You want to have mates, and you help navigate that
Yeah.
together. What does that
Yeah.
look like? What has that looked like?
I think we just really liked showing people that being a Christian is normal.
Normal,
We're
yeah.
just, yeah. But people would, I think, not to, this doesn't, I don't want to sound like a brag, but I think people did notice that we were a little bit
Yeah.
different.
Not
they'd
to
say we're a bit-
give her a shout
No,
out, but
don't
she
do
did
this.
for the end of sixth form. They did like a poll who's who's
I
like
don't want to talk about
most
this.
likely to be popular, who's going to be a celebrity. And one of them was who's the nicest and who's the friendliest. There were 2 separate questions that were about being nice, and Abby got both of them. So
Oh, well
But,
done,
but
Ab.
I and Amy was always there alongside me, so I'd say we did it. I think we just were
Together.
really. We just showed that we didn't like to gossip, but we're still normal people. We just
Yeah.
don't gossip.
Amazing.
yeah.
You must be so proud,
Yeah,
Anna.
yeah. Really proud.
Like,
I'm
proper,
so embarrassed.
like,
though.
no, it's
Really
not.
proud. It's not all about
Oh, I'm
me. I don't
advertising it
people
for
people
her.
can live their whole lives without getting that.
Mm.
People can, can't they, without getting
Without
that whole-
understanding the importance of character, that in the
Yeah.
long term, we try and impress people in the short term by acting silly or getting drunk at a party or wearing a provocative outfit or losing a bit of weight, or for guys bulking up, whatever. It's all so short term. But in the long term, actually people really value having a good, solid, trustworthy, closed-mouthed friend.
Yeah.
You know, whether they call themselves followers of Jesus or not. They've all voted the school to say, Abby's solid and I'd like an Abby in my life.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
Oh, I know. I just hate
You've played the
it.
long game. You've played the long game. You've done it the right way.
Also,
It's
when
so
people are going
awkward.
through stuff, I bet it's you guys that they would have come to over those that they knew
Yeah.
that would have just talked or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
it'd been like, who can I trust to talk about this? And I'll take it.
And I think being there for each other, as well as
Mm.
being always kind to other people, it's like Amy was, I think, the friend that I could be honest to about everything, because when you're with Christians, you just have that common ground, and like you don't need to talk about specific things because you just know what each other think about that kind
Yeah.
of. Not
understand.
always, but a lot of stuff in life, it's like, oh, we have that in similar, we believe that. So I just think we can be really honest, and we've always said that, like, till now. We're like, if Amy starts annoying me, I'll be like, Amy,
Yeah.
and I can
She
be
does.
honest and tell her. Or if I'm like, Amy, that's so funny, she can carry on. So it's like, I
Yeah.
can be so honest when I'm like, I really like that. And it's just, I
Yeah.
think, having an honest friendship. And I don't know if you
But you know
can
the
get-
parameters. You're committed to
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
journey
Yeah.
in some respect, aren't you?
Yeah.
So you've both agreed within your friendship what's sort of out of order and what's not.
Yeah.
And I think it's also like, I think we have such a, this is going to sound really cringy, but I think we do actually have quite a good like friendship, because I think even if people label themselves as Christians, I still don't think a lot of people will do or they won't follow it in the same way. And I think I found that in school, a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian, or they'll, because they got Christian when they were younger,
Or their parents go
Yeah.
to church or whatever.
Christian, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you actually need to have a faith in Jesus. Like,
And,
that's
like,
the important thing.
Also, like, when people are saying, like, yeah, she's my best friend, and then going off and talking about her, me and Amy, like, I mean, I hope we've never done that. I'm joking. I
never
know
done
she's
it.
never done that. So it's like having that friend that I can walk away from wherever we've been and just know that she's not actually thinking anything different than what she would have said to me. Like, if Amy
Yeah.
thinks something about me, she'll say it. Whereas a lot
It's
of
because you're
people say that I'm
accountable-
their good
yeah.
friend, but I walk away and I'm like, I know
Because
what you've said to me about
some
other
friends are
people.
accountable to each other,
Mm.
but if you're both accountable to Jesus,
Yeah.
then you do trust someone more, don't you?
Yeah.
In some
yeah.
way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even being able to sit in silence with each other, I really enjoy it. We can sit in the silence on the way here in the car. I mean, I don't think we did because we were stressing about the traffic, but like we could have, and I would not have thought anything about it.
Yeah.
And it's like you can have that silence and just
Yeah, I
we're in an
feel like-
office all the time together. We're always in silence, and it's never been awkward.
Well,
So,
not a lot, but
Just
yeah.
interestingly, though, so within not just school environments, but when you're with friends, because I know you've both got friends who aren't in church.
Yeah.
So how do you find that then? So how do you demonstrate your faith in those kind of environments?
So at my job,
Mhm.
I work in quite like close knit. All of the VMs visual merchandisers will be in one group. So we're all quite like close friends, and there's people that might be spiritual, but they're not Christian spiritual. They'll believe in crystals and that kind of thing, and it's really about just being open. Like, so many of them, I feel like I would always be terrified to speak about anything in my faith. Probably until I finish school, pretty much. But these guys, even though they don't believe it themselves, I have had probably hours worth of conversations just about
Wow.
Christianity, and that is very unlike
What
me.
sort of questions do they have?
A lot of it is about like sex before marriage. It's like what is it that I believe, why I believe it, Yeah, there's some really interesting questions, and someone is quite young, so she's older than me, so she's in a relationship, and she was like, quite a lot of people get married quite young, don't they? And it was like, because I was like, oh yeah, I've got like at least 2 weddings this year, had quite a few last year.
So the
And
importance of marriage, the
yeah.
value of marriage.
And it was
Wow.
only a couple of days ago that we were talking about the just about marriage and stuff, and yeah, I think it really, even though she might not believe it, but
just
really,
kind of
It's
educating.
that seed as well of
yeah,
faith that's sown, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
now she's thinking about that.
yeah,
And you know, you may never know what the outcome or if she ever pursues that further, but you've been faithful, haven't you, in what
Yeah.
she's asked you and what
Yeah.
Jesus has called you to do, which is be his followers and
In
tell
the
people about
workplace,
him.
not just in the church, but
Yeah.
everywhere. And do you have like experiences with God that you share with them? Or is that more private between you and Abby? Or...
I don't know. I think I've explained sometimes how like I'll feel more peace or something, but I haven't physically gone into it because I feel like that's a couple conversations away.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's wisdom, Amy.
Yeah,
That is wisdom, isn't it? And discernment.
yeah. Because I think if I go straight into it, and they might be like, what? Like, and like I'm like, I haven't personally, but like when people fall on the floor with
in the
overcome
spirit.
with spirit,
Yeah.
I haven't ever experienced that, but I feel like you can't quite go straight into that conversation with someone because they might be like,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just about the continuation of the conversation. So one of my friends, I invited her when we did youth, when we were doing youth. I invited her to Alpha, which we did with our church a couple of years back, I think. And she was really open to it. I think she went to every single one, but she didn't make a commitment.
She didn't come back, really, did she?
Yeah, she didn't really come back. But I invited her the other day. I was like, I saw her again. She was one of my school friends. I saw her the other day. And then I was like, I do message her a lot. And I messaged her and I was like, would you ever be interested in coming to our young adults? And she was like, yeah, I'd love to.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to meet up with her 1 week before and hopefully she'll, like for dinner before.
Quite full on. So it's quite, it's for people that follow.
So I think it may be some socials.
Yeah.
And then if we meet her for like dinner before young adults, it might like incline it a bit more.
Food always helps.
Christians love food, don't they? Like,
Everyone likes food. So
Yeah.
do you think then, so you were both brought up within the church and some people listening won't have been. When did Jesus become real to you? Were there any particular experiences you can point to, either of you, where you thought, now I know the living God is in my life and he knows me and he loves me and he cares?
I think when I've always said that I was a Christian, but I definitely haven't believed it for myself. I think, not to be rude, but I would just take it and be like, oh, I believe in it just because my parents like not made me go, but they kind of made me to go. So I'm like, I always just used to be like, yeah, I'm a Christian, I go to church, but I didn't believe in it until probably maybe like 2. I've always believed, but when I fully was open and not, I don't know, maybe embarrassed about it, I would say about 2 years ago. So very recent. I've always believed, but like actually experiencing God, probably about 3 years ago, but actually living out my faith probably very recently, actually. But yeah, I probably experienced him maybe when I was 16 at
What was that like?
Festival. I felt so crazy. I was like, what is going on? I felt so much peace. I was in a really like rough patch. I was 16. You're going through that stage of life where you're like, what's going on? Who am I? And I went to this Christian festival, and I have this younger adult though. She's a young adult, but she's older than me. My mentor, and I just asked her, would you just pray for me, because I just feel so stuck and like I don't know what to do. And it was just general life. I was like, can you just pray for my life? And she prayed for me, and I just felt so much peace. I was so overwhelmed, just crying, and I never felt like at home. I don't know, this sounds like weird to maybe people that don't have never experienced it, but I felt so at home and just like I could breathe, like
Wow.
And so I'd say that was about 3 years ago, and then started living my faith probably like showing it really properly in the last 2 years, maybe the last year of A levels.
Yeah, mine's quite similar to that. Like I grew up in a Christian household. My mum was the kids ministry person, so I'd always have to be the first one in the building and the last one to leave. It's
Yeah.
always really fun. But yeah, I think something that really helped me stay was like friendships. I think that is such a key part of my life that I don't know if I necessarily would have stayed if I didn't have the same friends I had. But yeah, again, I think mine was the same Christian festival, but I think it was probably 2 years ago. I was, as I say, my careers, I have never known what to do. And that year I really just felt that God was telling me to go into ministry in whatever level that was. Because I was used to be like, oh, maybe I could just be youth leader so I can go to these Christian festivals.
They are really fun. But...
They are really good. But and then I remember I felt this burning on my heart. And Tim Alford, who's one of the leaders at the festival, he was like, if you feel this burning on your heart,
well, like physically felt it, like a warmth
yeah, so
in your chest.
Felt it here, and then also like felt it on the inside as well, and just a pounding as well. And he was like, if you feel that, please put out your hand. We'd love to pray for you. We think it's because God wants you to go into some level of ministry. And that was a crazy moment because I was like, okay. But I've never, and then I was like, I don't know what level that means, but yeah. So, and then it was many other times, but I think I never experienced God until probably about 2 years ago. And I always used to look at everyone and be like, why are they crying? Why are they falling on the floor? Why is this not happening to me? Like, hello, I'm here. Yeah. But yeah, I just think it was probably only like, and then last year at the same festival, I pretty much went up for prayer for every single reason. I think everything bar one. And that's when I really was like, wow.
Just wanting the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, like I want Jesus. Like that's who I want to live my life for. And yeah, I just remember so many reasons. And one time it was before, literally the night before, I said to some of the girls, I was like, I have never cried before. Like I don't think I've ever felt the Holy Spirit. And I was like, why have I not cried and everyone else has?
Didn't we pray for you in the tent that night as well?
Yeah, you guys prayed for me because I remember it was really dark and I was like, I just want some prayer.
We were like, let's just...
Yeah. And then the day after, the same person that was her mentor came up to me.
She's a youth leader as well.
Yeah, she's a youth leader.
She's basically everyone's mentor. Yeah, we love
her. And she came up to me and then she was like, I really feel like God's telling you that like, your image isn't everything, because I felt like, I remember that day I literally saw someone walk past and I was like, oh, she's so pretty, like why can't I be like that? And I literally just went to bits. And then afterwards, everyone was praying for me. Afterwards I turned around, two of my friends like, I thought you said you've never cried before.
It's because we prayed.
Yeah. And it's just crazy to see how God works and seeing how God works in the youth, and it's great.
Wow. So on a day-to-day basis, so like we all have things that bother us, distract us, or cause us stress or anxiety, whether that's not being able to find a parking space or whether that's something much more serious, much more difficult, something that we might hear in the news, something we might hear about a friend of ours, that kind of thing. How do you guys navigate that kind of thing? What would you do on a daily basis? So you've talked about this amazing experience that you've had at Limitless Festival.
Yeah.
But when you come home, it would be very easy to like slip back into a different way of life, wouldn't it? That old, comfortable way of life. How do you continue to live that in that place, knowing that like God's touched you? Yeah. And everything's different because you've experienced him. Yeah. What's it like on a day-to-day basis?
I have really bad road rage. I have really bad road rage. And yesterday we were at church and Hamish, our youth leader, he was speaking. And he was saying, oh, I have really bad road rage, but sometimes I think this person doesn't, maybe going through something really big. And even on my way home, I was in my car and I was just driving, and there was someone driving really slow. They were driving 20 miles an hour on a 60 road, and I was like, just want to be at home because I would already had to go a longer way. And I just felt why am I being this worldly way? Like, I really just felt Hamish's words go over in my head again.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are we living in this worldly way when we should be living in the Jesus way?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes reflecting, like, I always think, would Jesus have done that? If Jesus didn't do that, why should I be doing it?
Yeah. So it's almost like God spoke through Hamish
Yeah.
to you about your, well,
The
it
timing
is.
is-
God
Yeah.
used Hamish to speak to you about that sense of rush and that
Yeah.
sense of urgency when you're driving. That's just,
Yeah. It was
really
weirdly
amazing.
timed as well, because,
Yeah. Have you guys got any other kind of instances like that you can think of?
Can you remind me of the question?
Pardon?
I have a bad memory.
What it looks like in the day-to-day, what
Yeah.
hope looks like, because I think there's so many things that drain our hope bucket. In what ways
Yeah.
do you top it up intentionally?
I think just, I mean, there's obviously the balance of the real world and my faith, and I just think surrounding myself with the right people, but I also need to be in the world and realize what's going on. So definitely, if I am going through something and I'm reading my Bible and I'm not really getting any answers, I'll go maybe talk to someone a bit wiser than me, or I don't know, even maybe not wiser than me, but just someone to talk to. And I think with like non-Christian friends, I think this was a question, like if they're struggling, I think just being transparent with them and like saying, can I pray for you? Even if they're not Christian. I've done it once and it was terrifying, but they didn't think it was, they were kind of nice thinking that I was supporting them. They were glad, even though they were like, oh, okay. They were
You
like,
probably expect it.
yeah. So they were like, I mean, it was the first time I ever did it and I was terrified, but I did
Well
it.
done, you.
And I was like, if nothing comes out of it for them, at least I'm just being transparent. But yeah.
You're being obedient as well. That's the other thing,
Yeah.
isn't
You're giving
it?
a blessing. Women are
Yeah.
blessed. That's great.
So yeah, I think just praying is just obviously a great gift, and it's really up there, and I really definitely use it a lot. So yeah, definitely praying and probably talking to my Christian friends is my top two things when I'm really struggling. So yeah.
And what of the struggles that you have would specifically be related to being a young adult, a female young adult, as opposed to a male young adult? So I guess you've got guy friends similar age to you, and you know some of the struggles they're going through. What would you say are some of the struggles as a young adult which are specifically female?
I feel like a question I get quite a lot is about sex before marriage. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but so many people ask me this. And I'm like, it's really like, I don't see them ask guys about it in the same way.
Other girls asking you.
Asking girls that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a
Do
boy
you
asking
think,
girl.
I don't want to lead the agenda here, but do you think that, you know, we hear so much around sex being used in the wrong way now, toxic masculinity, pornography, obviously the program Adolescence is out shining a light on that sort of stuff at the moment. Do you think perhaps young adults, young women are looking for a safer place for sex?
Yeah.
Or is it not that deep?
I don't know. I think we surround ourselves a lot with each other, and we have a group, and I mean, in our group we don't talk about it because we
No.
know what each other think and
Yeah.
believe. But
Yes.
yeah, when it's other people, it's just like for non-Christian, it's like non-Christian girls, and I just
Perhaps they're looking for
explain it.
something
Yeah.
different, because it
Yeah.
can really.
There's
one
a
of the-
pressure, and it's
there's so much pressure.
bad.
And we can really hurt one another in our sex lives in a way that we can't hurt each other in any other way in life. I mean, Jesus used the analogy of fire, talking about sex. And is fire a bad thing? No. Fire's a great thing. Really good in my oven and in the boiler where it's meant to be, where it's contained in its proper place. So sex, it's not Jesus saying sex is bad. He's saying it's good. But it has a contained, safe place where it's meant to be. Two people have committed to being with each other. But sex, or fire, if it's just let loose in my house, is an absolute nightmare. It burns it down. And people get burned by
Damaged.
sex and damage in ways that, because we're giving of ourselves in such an intimate way, if someone then just walks away, it leaves you thinking, must be like,
It's a
who am I?
rejection,
It's a
isn't it?
rejection of
Huge
like nothing
rejection.
else. It must be so sad.
Yeah, I also think another thing is, this is what I get more, is more like appearance.
Yes.
Talking about each other's appearance. I think that's something that I personally found as a girl that girls like to talk about more than boys, from what I know. I mean, I might be wrong. And yeah, obviously being a girl in the world, you get called out on the street and stuff, and it's horrible. But especially when it's from girls, that's when it hits home for me. I'm like, why are you commenting on your friend? She's clearly not your friend. Like, it's just, I don't know why we're comparing each other. So I think that's one thing that I really like about our friendship. My
It's
main
safe.
is
Yeah.
we're
Not about to.
we're not
Well,
commenting
I
on
have
each other's appearance.
You guys within the house quite often, like you and friends, and you'll be at the house and I'll be in the kitchen doing something and I'm not actively listening to your conversation, but you'll be at the dining room table, but I can hear it. And the only time you mention each other's appearance is when you go, oh, that looks really nice on you.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
Amy, let me have that mascara.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. So I hear the compliments, but actually
with-
that's not the source of your conversation.
No.
You're talking about good times and you're talking
Yeah.
about funny things that have happened to you, and the root of your conversations is different, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think I always used to find it weird, girls as young as 12 where I've worked and things, calling each other hot and things. Now, but it's not in it's a sort of, it's sexualized language,
But they're just, yeah.
but they're young, they don't really understand it. But then they sort of, in the decisions they make about how they dress, they begin to play up to it because they quite like the attention, not just from guys, interestingly, but from other girls. And I don't know what that could be like. So I have a daughter who's 10.
Yeah.
So this is going to become an increasing part of navigating life for us. And I wonder what, how you guys have found a safer place, because to navigate what it means to be presentable, and it's fine to be presentable.
Yeah.
We don't just walk
You
around
can
with the
dress
bag
around-
over our
you
head.
can dress nicely. You can
And you
make
look
yourself
after your
look
body.
good.
That's about being healthy. There's nothing wrong with that. But how do you navigate that without it going too far?
I think I've really felt in the past year, not that I ever dressed crazily. I don't think Emma might be able to say
No,
you
no,
different.
no,
but
no.
I don't think I ever dressed very
Provocatively.
and but I really probably actually more in the past couple of months I've really felt condemned, I don't know, convicted of what I dress, and I really feel like I need to be a role model for the next generation.
Oh, well done.
Good
Hey.
you.
Well
Come
done, yeah.
So I've actually just been thinking about starting a TikTok around how Christians girls can dress in a sense that's fashionable but isn't provocative, or
That's
and I think
brilliant.
it is so challenging in this world. You have everyone at a party, they'll wear the shortest skirt and the smallest top, and I'm just like, that's not a bit of me. And there's a couple people out there already doing it, and I love watching them. That's why I think social media can be such a good thing, because
It can be powerful for good as well as negative, can't it?
And there's someone that we have friends that know, and she's a really cool TikTok, and that's who I aspire to be. But she's she dresses cool, but also she's like, oh, get ready for church with me. And it's some of my stuff, I was looking through it, I've been trying to do a wardrobe clear out, and I look at this, I'm like, why did I wear that a year ago? How did I wear that out the house? And it's not even that I ever dress bad. Well, I never dress crazily, but I think, but it's also, I don't know, it's just about being comfortable for me. But
I remember it being a shock, actually, going to proms and things. I remember you girls had lovely outfits and things. I might add, very modestly
I
dressed.
think you would have brought it for
But
me.
I do remember there being some very low-fronted dresses and a lot of skin out, and very short and things. And I was shocked, and more so, I suppose, because the boys both went through their proms before you girls. So when you've got a boy, they just live in a football top, don't they? So then I went to the prom, when Tom was 16, he went in a suit. And there was just whoa, I've got to navigate Abby through this. Abby at that point was just at the start of secondary school. And it's quite countercultural, isn't it? To be saying, oh, actually, let's be modest when we...
Oh, that's a good word.
Yeah.
It's it's a Bible word about women. It's
Modest.
There's a little bit in the Bible where it talks to women specifically, and it says, don't be obsessed with your outward appearance, but harness an unfading beauty. And we'll come back to that word, because I think it's an incredible word, an unfading beauty that comes from a modest, and then it says quiet, which basically means the opposite of loud or showy, spirit, a modest spirit, like a gentle, basically it's the opposite of loud, brash,
Yeah.
crude, out there, provocative. And I just think one incredible thing, coming back to the comments that were made about you, is that there is an unfading beauty that women can become more and more beautiful throughout their life.
Yeah.
Beauty isn't something you lose when you get to a certain age, because we've totally misunderstood
Yeah.
or made very narrow a wonderful word like beauty, which actually encapsulates all of the person.
Yeah.
You used the word modest. Why did you use the word modest? It's a good word, but some people might put a downer on the word modest, mightn't
Yeah.
they?
It's a bit of an old-fashioned word, I
Yeah.
suppose. But I mean,
Yeah.
to me, modest doesn't mean, pie crust neck up to the chin and like, long cuffs or anything like that. Modest to me just means, if I'm being really honest, is the bits that I only want my husband to see.
Come on.
Do
Well,
you know
you're
what I
married-
mean? And that's what you guys
Yeah.
are saying as well, aren't you, Amy? While you're saying, actually, I'm going to keep bits covered because the only person I really want to see that is I'm going to.
Yeah.
Opposite of showy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
But the bit of the Bible I'm thinking of actually finishes with that unfading beauty is worth so much value in God's sight.
Mm.
And doesn't it all come back to value?
Yeah.
So much of where do I get my sense of worth from? Who am I? What's my identity? Who's the one looking at me and going, wow, they're just wonderful? We can, for the short term gain of putting on something that we don't feel that comfortable with, get the whistle or whatever, or the thumbs up on TikTok, or we can get that approval, that value that just says, I see all of you,
Yeah.
and it's stunning.
Yeah.
But to hear that from your maker, to hear that,
Yeah.
and to hear that in your spirit,
Hmm.
perhaps that's some of the stuff that you were talking about before, to feel really known and seen and
Yeah.
valued. No wonder women shed a tear when they first feel the Holy Spirit. What a relief to know
Yeah.
I'm okay, I'm loved, I'm beautiful, I'm stunning inside and out.
And
Yeah,
you can ignore
that's-
the sorry.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
get out. I was say you can ignore the comments when you're walking down the street because I'm like, I just can't bother to think about it. So I'll just go pray when I get home, like take that negative thought out of my brain. I don't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
And it's
am
just being
loved.
able to pray, even when someone's making you feel, even if like, yeah, I don't know, just praying, like, yeah,
Yeah. 'cause
just for
that
the
is-
strength to get
that-
through it when you're getting
yeah.
shouted at the down
Yeah.
the street.
It's such a difficult thing, and I think that's something I've really, really struggled in my life. Like quite a few times, people have come up to me like, "I think God wants you to know you're just beautiful," because I've never been the skinniest person ever, and I think sometimes that's something you see as beautiful, but I think it's just so important for like especially young girls to be like, actually, I can just be whoever I want to be, and God
Yeah,
loves
definitely.
me, and and I just think I often feel like you guys will be like, oh, you look so good when I have less skin to it. And I'm not saying that you have to have, like you were saying, like really long sleeves, high
like
necks,
up to it, yeah.
It's
That's
the
it.
mum speaking now, isn't it, Emma?
Yeah, like cuffs down, covering your fingers. Yeah, no, nothing like that.
And like I feel like sometimes you do see that more on TikTok. You'll see like a lot of really, really things like that, and you'll see like dresses, but they'll have tops underneath. And I think sometimes people see that and they're like, oh, I'd like to be fashionable. Like not saying that that's not fashionable, but it's not what people would see as fashionable. Whereas I think it's such an important thing to embrace trends sometimes, but still do it in a
Make it your own kind of.
make it your
Jesus's
own.
way.
Make it work for what you know, for the path that you're on.
Yeah.
And it can be
that's it.
presentable, like our bodies. Look
Yeah.
after your body, be healthy. These are good, positive words. We're not talking about what necessarily, I don't think God's that bothered about what you can't do. It's more about moving into who you really are, because
Yeah.
I think it's when we're positive about these things and say, no, being a Christian, being a follower of Jesus as a young person, this isn't about not being able to do lots of stuff. This is actually about the full life I get to walk into, because the freedom that comes from knowing I'm loved, whether I get that like or not.
Yeah.
It is about freedom.
Yeah.
I think we're always learning though.
Yeah.
Like, I've definitely not got it.
We're always learning.
Perfect.
We're on a journey of learning, aren't we? All
Yeah.
of us in life.
So I've got a 10-year-old girl who's going to be going into this stuff increasingly. What were some of the, just to finish, you've mentioned so many things, been so helpful, but what would you say to a 10-year-old or an adult bringing up a 10-year-old girl this particular time?
To remember that no matter what and no matter who says what, that you are loved. I think that's such a challenge, but often I'll say to my youth, like, just like my young youth girls, but I'll be like, remember, like, Jesus does love you and Jesus died for you, not for.
And we're not saying that to group, we're saying that to you specifically.
You
Just because
specifically.
we're telling you all, he died for you all, but you specifically, like, just think about that. Because sometimes there's like, Jesus died for you, and they're talking to the whole church. And he died for the whole church, but you just have to think about him actually dying for you. Like, think about that word, you, and take it to you personally. I just think that is what I'm just like, remember we're saying you, right?
Yeah.
Like, just remember that.
Yeah.
You specifically. And like, obviously he died for everyone, but you just have to imagine it, like, you know what I mean?
He did it at a personal level as well as at a collective level, didn't he?
Yeah.
He did it.
And what would you say in terms of practically on phone usage? Where would you go? Let's say, God willing, in 5-10 years' time, you're talking to your own daughters about phone usage. What does that look like?
So I've always, I don't anymore, but
say.
my parents have always had a screen time on my phone. And although back then I absolutely hated it, and it was really annoying because it would just shut down my whole phone, I do think there is health in that. And also for things like Spotify, I don't have the explicit content on, so if it's got as well, I just can't listen to it, which is sometimes annoying if I want to listen to a specific song. But
An absolute banger.
an absolute banger.
Bad word, and you're like,
But it's not just the word, is it? It's the
Yeah.
content. It's the graphic nature
Yeah.
of the content that's not helpful.
And what it's implying.
And what's it
Yeah.
implying?
What it's
exactly.
implying, what's it generating, those images that
What's
it's generating in your mind as well, isn't it? So
I just also think surrounding yourself with the right people,
Mm.
finding the friends that they could be non-Christian if if they don't have that Christian circle, but just the friends that you know are loving on you and supporting you and wanting the best for you. Like, just find them people, because I don't know. I don't
find
know
your tribe.
Yeah.
That's what you need, like, to have with
And
you.
role models. I
Yeah.
mean, you've got each other as
Oh.
peers, but you've
Yeah.
mentioned a couple of times mentors, which is, I guess, we don't have to formalise these relationships. But and you've talked about wanting to be a role model, but both of you have valued looking up as well, haven't you, in
And
ages?
I think the influencers, and if that's what we call them, influencers that we follow, majority of mine are Christian.
Yeah.
I think that's the same. Amy puts me onto a few Christian influencers every now and then.
Yeah.
So I just think, looking at who you follow, I think we've said that, but
But also, like, remembering that you're a role model for the next people. Because I had someone came up to me and was like, I think I want to tell you that you are a role model for the next people, like for my youth. And I was just like, I forget that. And then when I'm like worshipping or something, sometimes I'm not necessarily in it, but I'm like, even just my hand gestures, I'm open to God. So I need my youth to see that I'm open to God and I'm not just switched off my phone. And I think, find the right role models, and also remember your role model. Because when I was younger, I'm sure, or when I was even younger in the kids session, I looked up to the older people, like the youth in our age.
Teenagers, when you were primary school age, that kind of thing.
Who are kids ministry lady now. I was literally speaking to her and I was like, she was one of my role models. I remember her when she was younger than I am now, and she was a role model for me back then. So no matter what age you are, there's still going to be someone
that people
younger.
are always looking up to.
There's that
school,
fusion, isn't there? Sorry, Abby.
I was going to say, like, in school, if you're the oldest in that school, there's people looking up to you. If you're like, wherever you are, there's someone younger than you in that community or that place. They're looking up to you. So you just have to
Such
remember
an
that.
important point, Abby.
I mean, it kind of takes us back to, I feel like we've gone round and we're like back to the bit where we started, where we said about, we mentioned near the beginning of the podcast about being in the world but not of the world, didn't we?
Yeah,
And there's a fusion to be had, isn't there? There's a place where that meets. And if you do it well, you can have such a big impact, you know, that bit where it joins. And you girls, honestly, we're really delighted that you've come in and shared with us just how well you girls are doing it. And Amy, we're excited about your TikTok, and we will follow, even though I don't have a TikTok account.
I don't have a TikTok
I will
account.
set up a TikTok account.
No, you
tomorrow.
won't.
Yeah, I will. Well,
Will you?
No,
yeah,
Mum,
I
you'll
might.
just
I would.
scroll.
Yeah.
You've just been telling us. You've not been listening to anything.
But I was going to say that fusion between the two, and actually, if you can do it and you can influence and you can guide people by
And
demonstration.
one of the best ways to protect yourself is actually to realise your purpose within it. This isn't just about me being sheltered. It's actually saying, no, I want to be among it because for the sake of the others
Yeah.
that are
You
still
want to see-
struggling
yeah.
and floundering in this stuff.
Exactly.
Because you guys live in, I mean, apologies on behalf of our generation, we've left you guys an absolute mess. You know, we've taken everything from the economy, we've taken everything from the environment, we've kicked Jesus out of our schools, and we've just dumped you with a right mess. But I think God has such a heart for your generation
Yeah.
because of that. Because that's not your fault. Your generation have walked into what you've been left, what you've inherited. But I think there's great purpose for those people who are going to take up the mantle within the next generation, who are already thinking about the people coming after them. I don't think we thought like that enough.
Yeah.
So thank you for being the people we probably ought to have been.
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful. Really encouraged.
Brilliant. Thank you. Well, we just want to thank you as well for coming on, Amy and Abby.
having
It's
us.
been an absolute delight to talk with you. And we wish you well.
We
And,
really do.
Yeah.
God bless.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Hope in the City. We hope that you have enjoyed it. If you have, please like and also share, because it might be that somebody else needs to hear this, and it would be helpful to them too. If you would like to interact with us, please contact us via the socials. If there's any subjects, any questions, any issues that you'd like us to discuss, then please do get in touch.
And we have an email address, hope@crplymouth.co.uk. This is our second season. And again, there might be some themes that you would love us to cover. And you might have some questions. We love doing our Q&R sessions as well. So please do get in touch, and bless you.